We're super psyched to welcome Ken Thomson to the festival, who you've already seen play Shelley Washington's solo sax piece, and now you're here as a composer, and we're about to hear a world premiere. And I just before like we even get into talking about it, I just want to say that there are hundreds of people who have bought tickets for today's event, and Raleigh Marcus and Stephen Block have have supported this commission, along with ASCAP and the Howard Gilman Foundation and the Department of Cultural Affairs of the City of New York. So thank you all so much. It means so much to all the musicians here who are playing. And, this is like a real live gig. And now we have a real live world premiere, which is really incredible. And Ken, you're right. You wrote a bass piece for Robert Black, and you've been all over the world. Robert Black's also a member of the Bang on the Can All-Stars, and the two of you have been all over the world, playing in every type of situation together. And what's it like now writing for him?
Well, I've seen him on the other side of this so many other times, because we've done a lot of work with composers, and so we're always in a room together saying, oh, okay, what about this? And so I'm very used to seeing him in this mode, though not directly, of course. And he is just not surprisingly, but just the most generous and sweet and wonderful person to actually work with, as the three of you know very well, having worked with him for decades. And I'm only on my first decade working with Robert, really. But he, I'm sending him stuff, and I'm kind of apologizing. This commission, you'll hear this from all the composers probably, but it came a little bit last minute considering the situation. And so then first you start spinning your wheels, and then you're like, oh my God, okay, this is like, it's next week already. And, it's all of these things. And so I'm sitting there, Robert, at some point, he waits a very nice period of time. And then at some point sends me a nice email like, oh, I'm very excited about this. What did you have in mind? And I said, well, Robert, it will be too late and it will be too hard. And he said, oh, okay, well, just let me know when you have it, So I'm shooting things at him way before they're ready, essentially, just to try to, make the process a little bit faster and see if we can make something work. And there was never a point where he's like, oh, well, this doesn't work, or like, this is ridiculous. There was never a no. There was never a complaint. There was never like, well, this won't happen. There was nothing like that. It was just like, if anything, he said, well, we're both, on it in terms of our time, and we're both going to make this happen. And, when we do this piece again in a couple months, it's going to be in a different situation. And, but also was very positive about just musical ideas. And we changed a couple things in there based on what he thought would be some great ideas, and they were. So it's also, there was, even though it was such a short time, we were actually able to bounce things off of each other. And actually there were some changes that happened towards the end of this week based on the performance that I heard on Zoom. And we did it a few times actually. And it was really wonderful, actually. It didn't feel curtailed. It didn't feel short, even though of course the time was massively short.
And I know right before we hopped on, you shared with us that you're in a cozy apartment in Brooklyn with two small children. And right. A lot of this composing happened in the early hours before, and then they probably wake up early, but before they would wake up. And I think this is just important for people to understand what the juggling that's going on with artists, especially artists with small children, when there are lots of those. So pretty miraculous. I mean, do you think this has any morning energy to it, or just like,
No, honestly, I mean, I feel that I learned a number of years ago, I'm actually better at writing in the morning because I'm a little bit fresher, and a lot of times when I write things at night, they're just like a little too emotional and a little bit too like in myself, and then I listen to them the next day and I thought, what am I doing? Like, that sounds terrible. What was I thinking? You get on these tangents and you go somewhere and they're not worth anything. So actually I'm somewhat comfortable. And when I do when I used to do artist residency kind of things, a lot of times I would get the most done in the morning. So it's a little bit kind of like a punch in your face to wake up in the fives, which I was doing, and like, okay, have some coffee, and then like, okay, let's try, come on, let's try. So I don't think it has a morning feel to it necessarily, but I think the great thing about knowing someone's playing the way I know Robert's is that all of the stuff I could kind of imagine him doing. So it wasn't coming to this like, I'm going to write a random bass piece. It was more like, I want to write a piece for Robert. And so I think that's more, rather than a morning energy or necessarily where we're living energy, there was also a sense of like, oh, okay, I'm going to write something that I can imagine him actually doing and getting a kick out of, and hopefully.
Can you tell us about the title, please?
For those of you who've escaped
I
New
love the
York,
title.
thank you. I knew about usually the title comes last.
Birds
Yeah.
and Ambulances.
It's called Birds and Ambulances. Yeah, usually the title comes last, but this time the title came first. That's New York right now. We live in a flight path to LaGuardia, which basically doesn't exist anymore. And suddenly it's incredibly peaceful. It's very quiet, and we hear birds. It really has that feeling of nature having taken over. And it's kind of amazing that way, but it's pierced, of course, and when they were talking about this on the news, and there was a direct seeming correlation here in Sunset Park, Brooklyn, to the number of ambulances that are flying around the streets, and you could really hear it. And even because there was less of background noise, there's less traffic, there's a noise floor in New York City that's just been lowered, so any ambulance kind of anywhere you're hearing it. So you have this kind of pastoral thing happening with this, like, oh wow, nature is back, and like, oh, birds, and I'm starting to notice trees maybe happening, and then in the back of your head, and every so often you get kind of this reminder of where we are and what's going on. So I think that for sure seeped into the piece. I just wanted to say I haven't properly said thank you to you guys for making this incredible concert today, and for commissioning what an incredible idea, and to have me being part of this first class of people. So thank you so much.
Thank you. We're so excited that new work is being made. Congratulations, Ken. Thanks so much for being part of it. And